Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching and Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channels. Pro Wrestling Logic is why you're here, but if you are looking for relationship, business, or life coaching related work, then please go to our main channel, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Would love to help you out over there. In any event, this is the impact review for the 20th of May 2021. This show is definitely less than it used to be by far, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've got the people that AEW and WWE don't want. I think there is a drop, and then ROH goes down to the people that those places don't want. There's certainly a drop in wrestling value over time. And that's neither good nor bad, it just is. And by it's neither good nor bad, it doesn't necessarily mean that they shouldn't strive for more. It just means at the end of the day that you've got to deal with what you're dealt as far as companies are concerned. So anyway, the pre-show match, which is, as I say every week, goofy as heck. Triple XL, AC Romero, and Larry D defeating Johnny Swinger and Hernandez on BTI. Impact opens with a tribute to New Jack, followed by a recap of Under Siege. I guess the tribute to New Jack was kind enough. However, he was with the company before they had the Impact name. Maybe it needs to happen. Maybe it doesn't. Don't really know. Anyway, Rohit Raju with Shura defeating Jake something. Power versus speed match. Something having the upper hand. Shura attacks behind the ref's back. Raju worked over the shoulder and keeps control as long as he keeps his opponent down on the mat and focuses on the arm. Something gets to his feet and things changes, obviously, with something making a comeback. Something and Raju both get a couple near falls, and there's a crossface spot in the middle of the ring. Something powers out, and Shura eventually trips something and holds his foot for Raju to get the pin. Match didn't need to happen, kind of just there and kind of flat. Post-match, something goes after Shura and beats him up, and then they do a beatdown with a chair and put him through a table. Strong first segment, although I don't know that the average fan cares enough about either of these guys for the segment to have been as strong as it was. This is basically sold as something snaps. Anyway, Gia Miller interviews Taylor Wilde about the tag team win at Under Siege with Wilde and Tenille Dashwood, and they focus on Deanna Purrazzo Knockouts Championship. Dashwood interrupts and reveals that if she defeats Kiera Hogan tonight, she and Wilde can get a shot at the tag titles. Wilde doesn't like that idea. Tenille Dashwood with Caleb with a K defeats Kiera Hogan with Tasha Steelz. The unlikely partner storyline plays out. It's goofy. Hogan match bounces around Dashwood. Caleb out there. Dashwood deals with Steelz distractions and Hogan having control of the match. Match didn't go that long. Hogan gains control, and Dashwood makes a quick comeback, and then wins with a roll-up. Match really doesn't matter, but it served the purpose of advancing the Dashwood and Wilde Fire and Flave storyline. Honestly, I don't understand the concept of having a television product where the matches don't matter except to advance storylines, and that's what this program seems to be on this particular week. Backstage, Grace tells Ellering they have a match tonight, but it's between them, which takes Ellering by surprise. Kojima is coming to Impact next week, so Japanese stars are getting a good bit of play on both AEW and Impact. Maybe we'll actually get a true competitor to WWE if they continue to work together over the next few years. Who knows? VSK's second match on Impact, this time against Petey Williams. Williams has a good bit of momentum. VSK cuts him off with some offense In between, Williams makes a comeback and starts going after the Canadian Destroyer, but there's counters. Williams gets a second one for the win. I don't know. I don't particularly like the idea that a guy who is on another program nationally and is getting squashed, even if it's primarily on the internet program, is competitive with what would be considered at least a Impact mainstay or legend. Miller interviews Rich Swann about returning at Under Siege, talks about losing at Rebellion to Morrissey, coming to Impact, and instead um, um, he comes back and tries to destroy it. So Swann has issues with that, and he gets kicked with a big boot by Morrissey, beats him up, and I don't know. The former Big Cass, his whole deal was his microphone shtick, and I can't imagine that the former world champion of this Impact brand should be getting glommed by him completely unless there's a larger story to it that leads somewhere, and I can't imagine that leads anywhere good for either brand unless you're trying to build Morrissey up as a big deal. Swingers Palace segment. TJP has been winning a lot of money from the house. Falaba has been working for Swinger as a valet to clear his debt. TJP plays and wins Falaba's freedom. TJP says he needs a tag team partner, which Williams took offense to, and they lost his team at Under Siege. Challenged TJP and Ba to fight him and X Division champion Josh Alexander. DK then appears, and they pick a fight with everyone. So apparently we might get Hernandez and back Taurus next week. Then there's a Moose segment. New top contender for the Impact World Champion comes down to the ring to address the Omega situation. Moose says it was easy to become the number one contender, while he understands that Omega wins with some big names in the industry. Moose is completely different type of beast. Moose says that he versus Omega would be a true clash of the gods, using reference that neither none of the other gods could defeat Zeus in Greek mythology, and against all odds he would eventually do that. Omega and Don Callis interrupts. Callis said Moose may be the most physically talented person in wrestling, but that Moose's talent just wasn't enough to defeat Omega. All his talent's wasted. Hopefully this leads to Moose coming to AEW. I think that would be good for him. I don't know that it will, but anyway, Callis brings up that Moose never won a Super Bowl or in the NFL, or even a title in ROH, while Omega was winning titles all over the world. Moose threatens Callis and that he isn't Rich Swann, and he wouldn't try to play mind games with Moose. Omega steps up and tells Moose that all it takes is one winged angel. Moose challenges Omega to actually try and put him in that, but instead the Good Brothers come down. They're about to go at Moose when Sami Callihan appears with a bat in hand to save Moose. Moose and Callihan as babyface against Omega is interesting, to say the least. I think this is the best segment of the show so far. Moose and Omega has me interested. If it leads, though, to Moose losing and Callihan taking his place, that does not intrigue me at all. Callihan is so 5 years ago, it's not even funny. Anyway, Rachel Ellering defeats Jordana Grace. Recently, Fire and Flav started getting into Grace's head. Starts with some clean chain wrestling from both women, neither really getting an upper hand. Match goes on. Ellering starts gaining more and more dominance and starts to provoke Grace. Things finally get a little more heated. Grace starts to really put her weight into her offense and brings strikes into the mix. She couldn't keep Ellering down for the pin. Ellering tries to make a comeback. Grace gets angry and goes all in on it. She wasn't able to hit the Vader bomb at the end. They try to trade roll-ups, and Ellering eventually gets the win. Post-match, Grace is disappointed, but she shakes hands with Ellering. Eventually, I have a feeling this goes to Grace turning heel. Brian Myers cuts a promo saying that should have been him at Under Siege, and that Matt Cardona just wasted a spot in the number one contenders match. Cardona then happened to walk by, gets attacked by Myers. This apparently isn't over. Impact Tag Team Champions David Finlay and Juice Robinson defeat Austin and Fulton to retain the championships in what was, I guess I would call, the true main event. They won a 4-way number one contenders match at Under Siege, and that's what gives them the ability here. Match sees Finn and Juice have a pretty strong start. They control both of their opponents separately, and Fulton turns the match around and regains consciousness to keep the upper hand. During the break, Fulton and Austin turn the match back around, catching Robinson with a clothesline outside the ring. Robinson gets tagged into Finlay. Last couple of minutes, everything goes into tornado style. Both teams trading near falls. Austin and Fulton get a burst of offense, getting near falls on Robinson. They debuted a chokeslam into the fold tendon move, which is a cool near fall, and gets broken up by Finlay. Finish sees Finn Juice recover and take out Austin. Fulton comes close to blocking the offense, but that got him a stunner and Pulp Friction combo for the win. Best match on the show. After the match, Violent by Design hits the ring. Rhino still has his Call Your Shot trophy, which gives him the right in any title match at any time. They call it right there, right then. This is a ripoff of the Money in the Bank concept, and I hate when other promotions do this because you have some ingenuity. Anyway, Violent by Design, Rhino and Joe Doring defeat Finn Juice, Dave Finlay, and Juice Robinson for the Impact Tag Team titles. Squash match. Doring runs over Finn Juice and pins Robinson after a lariat. Violent by Design are your new tag team champions. Cheesy win, but I suppose between the guys having COVID and the fact that they have more commitments in Japan, it makes sense to have them drop the belts here. We'll be back with more right after this.